Chair at this time calls up House Bill 93 by Representative Krause.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe there's a committee substitute.
The chair at this time lays out the committee substitute for House Bill 93 and asks Representative Krause to explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you might be aware, there are currently 7 grounds of divorce for which a person can file for divorce here in the state of Texas. One of those grounds is insupportability, also known as no fault. And I have some serious reservations and concerns about the no fault system. And as we laid out in this committee last session, and fortunate to get it out of this committee, there's some legal anomalies actually with the process of no fault divorce. It's short circuits due process. It's really the only legal maneuver that we have that doesn't allow a response, that doesn't allow a defense, that does not allow some kind of answer to keep whatever legal action is being taken from happening. As far as we're aware, every time in Texas that no fault divorce has been filed, it's been granted. And so there's never been a relief. And that just seems to really be a hindrance to the due process side of things. And you'll hear from some witnesses today who will agree with that. Also, one of our hesitations is what studies have shown over and over again, decade after decade, of what the breakdown of the family or divorced families do to the children of those families. And so they're more likely to grow up in poverty, they're more likely to find themselves in jail, more likely to drop out of school, more likely to have health problems, physical, emotional, than other children who are raised in 2-parent homes. It happens in every case. There's always exceptions to every rule, but that's what studies have shown us time and time again. And so when we first filed the bill, we were just seeking to get rid of insupportability altogether. After talking to various individuals and concerned individuals, they said, well, maybe you could more target your concerns, those of due process and when children are involved. So that's what we came up with the committee substitute. So it's not just striking insupportability from the code. If there are 2 individuals who get married who just feel like they no longer want to make it work, wasn't right for them, and they consent to it, it's consensual, they can still file for no-fault divorce. But there can be no unilateral no-fault divorce in this instance, as that violates the due process standard, and it also would prohibit parents who have children from filing a no-fault divorce because of the weighty measures entailed with that process. Along with that, we heard other concerns that if you go to away from a no-fault divorce standard, it might cause people to air the dirty laundry or put details out there in public that they don't want their children to know about in future generations or at future times. That's why we've added the section on there for confidentiality. From now on, the records would be not so much sealed, but they would be redacted, and that sensitive personal information would not be made of a public record. And the only people who could access that record would be the parties to the suit. So we've tried to listen to individuals on the weaknesses, on the strengths of what our initial bill was. We tried to incorporate that into the amendment. As I said, we're going to have some great witnesses who will give you more insight from a personal nature on this, and so I'll let them do a lot of the talking, and I'll reserve my right to close unless there's any questions now, and happy to answer those questions now or at the end.
Any Representative Kane has a question.
Representative Krause, can you explain to me, bidding at line 9 on 2, the reason for not subjecting that to a collateral attack?
Which section?
It's line 9 and 10 on page 2, at least as I see it.
Line 9?
I don't have the sub. There's language discussing that it's not open to a collateral attack, but maybe that's been pulled out of the sub.
Okay.
All right, never mind.
I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah,
So,
that would be good grounds. I was worried about it, and you took it out.
There you go. There you go.
Any other questions, members of Representative Krause? So, as I understand it, the bill as drafted now and the substitute would limit this claim of insupportability to only those individuals who do not have children 18 or under.
And that both consent to it.
And they both, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, members? Well, let's just go through the witnesses.